Hello friends, celebrating here the first week basically of fall, and I just love fall. So it always seems like in September I really start getting into that whole fall vibe I love. So today I thought I'd paint a pumpkin. I couldn't wait to paint a pumpkin. I thought, is it too early? And then I thought, nope, it sure isn't, because I just love my fall. So what I'm going to be using today, and you can fast forward through this if you like, I'm going to be using my cold press Meeden paper. I wanted a piece that was a little bit bigger because I might end up framing this just to kind of holiday up or fall up my studio here with some pretty fall colors. This is the larger one. This is 9 by 12, but it's 140 pound, 100% cotton, which I love, cold press. So I already drew out my little pumpkin here, and I'm happy to share this with you. I will also make a $2.50 kit. You can get that right here. And you will get a swatch, a drawing, a digital download of the original, and then I do a little sheet for you that kind of goes with the tutorial that just gives you some of the key points that I'm going to go over. So I'm going to be doing that. I will also be using my Micron palette, you know, my favorite palette. Thank you, Paul Rubens. And I'm going to be playing with these oranges and some of these beautiful browns, sienna, cat orange. You know, I love, love, love these colors. This paint is just, I've been using it over a year now, and I love this paint. And for the price, it's fantastic. I did just fill these up with the little Micron tubes. I noticed my olive green's getting a little low. That's a great fall color. So these are the ones I'm going to be using. And I love the paint, not just because this palette, you get all these colors, which I love, but it can be very translucent and also very vibrant. So I like that in my paints. The other thing is, lucky me, one of you wonderful subscribers told me about, because every so often I'll get a $2 tip or something in YouTube, and somebody was telling me about a app called Ko-Fi, and you guys could go on there and just tip me on there if you prefer. So thank you to that subscriber. I don't get tips very often, but I appreciate them when I do. But I did save up, and thank you, thank you, thank you to those of you that are on Ko-Fi. I bought these metallics by, you know, I should have Googled how to say this, Lisilinka, and they're beautiful. So I'm going to be playing with those. Thank you so much, Ko-Fi supporters. You guys made this possible for me. So I'm not even going to spray it. I would have never bought these for myself, you guys. Okay, so it comes with this little dropper bottle, and I'm just going to put a little drop on each one of those. I'm kind of excited to use this on the pumpkin because I love my metallics for the holidays. I typically, as you know, if you're following me, I typically use MABs, but you know, you guys were so generous and helped me get these. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to be using those. All right. The first thing I want to do is just my little handy dandy swatch. And I always forget to put the link to this in my description. So just ask if I forget, but I'll try and put it in my description. All of my supplies I try to list in the description. I forget some of the things I use, but for the most part, I get them in there. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp that onto here. This thing has been so great. That was something, by the way, you guys, I knew about the stamps, but you told me about how to use them on these acrylic blocks. You guys are such a wealth of information. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit with some of the colors. I am going to be using, you guys, I'm so excited. Just a little sneak peek. Here's my box. It comes out in 2 weeks, you guys. I am beyond excited. Look at how beautiful. I don't know if I'm supposed to be showing you this yet. There they are. I'm so excited, you guys. Okay. Those come out on September 13th, by the way, Friday the 13th. All right, so today I'm going to be using maybe, I think these are the ones I'll play with. The 10 filbert, the 8 long round, and the 16 round. We'll see. The 16 round could come in handy with some of the larger areas, but these are really my favorites. So I've got those here on standby. I've got my wash and my rinse water, as you know, so important. Love, love, love my meat and dish. I've never spilled it once. And let me tell you, spilling on your workspace is a real bummer. Okay, so let's play with some of the colors here. I'm going to start with my 8 round. By the way, I made these really snappy because that's the type of brush I like to paint with, and it's really good for beginners. It gives you a little bit more control, and this is after that 8 long round Princeton that you saw me use a lot. So I played with it a lot and tried to get as close as I could. All right. Let's go into, let's see what colors I might want to put. Of course, I want some oranges. So I'm just going to look at my Lang here. I feel like I want to get into this color here, which is their cad orange. Let's just play with a few colors here. All right. So let's put that in there. So this is the cad orange. That's pretty much your standard pumpkin color. And then let's add into that just a touch. I can't decide if I want to go orange, red or green. I think I want to go with some brownish green. So I'm just going to put some of this yellow sienna in here. I think will be really pretty. And then maybe the other side of that could be some burnt sienna. Or I think this is actually the regular sienna. I think those colors could be really pretty. Let's put a little cad yellow with that. So I'll kind of mix those two colors. Aren't these, oh, I'm so excited for this change of season. We actually just entered autumn, but I just love these colors. And then I'm going to also go into the, okay, so this is the burnt sienna and maybe a little burned brown. I think that could be really pretty for some, maybe the shadows and some things like that. I'm just gonna pull it out here and get a lighter value, just meaning I'm adding more water. There we go. And then we're going to need some green. So I will go into my olive green. And maybe some sap green. I've been really into Hooker's green lately. Look how pretty that is, which I always had Hooker's green in my Winsor Newton palette and never really used it. So I think that's a lot of the colors. I feel like I want a little bit of a red in there. So maybe for some of the leaves and things. So I think I will also add in maybe the alizarin crimson. So let's try that one. Yeah, I think that's pretty. There we go. That could be pretty for some of the leaves, and maybe even a little deep magenta. Let's try that, see what that is. That's a little pinker. I want a little bit warmer. Let's see what this one is. So I'll kind of play with all of these and just go into whatever calls to me in the moment. But I want some type of red in there for maybe some of those leaves. Okay, I'm going to write those down real quick so I don't forget. So we had our cad orange, cad yellow. We had our yellow sienna, which I really like because it's very close to that cad yellow. And then this one was the regular sienna. And then we had some burnt sienna, little bit I might add in a little bit of Van Dyke brown. And then I just created a lighter value. And then we had our olive green and our tree green. There we go. And let's see, we had some of those reds. I think I went with alizarin and a magenta. Or, yeah, I always spell that wrong. Let's see, I don't know why I always spell that wrong. Zurin, I know that's wrong. Oh my goodness, you guys. Alizarin, and then like a magenta, and we'll kind of play with those reds and see what we do. But I want to use these colors too. So let's just do a little swatch. This gold, isn't this yummy? Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, these Lisilinkas I probably would have never bought for myself. That's why I'm so grateful to all my Ko-Fi supporters, because it is a little pricey. I'm going to tell you that, but look at that. It just moves around like molten lava. Here's kind of a copperish color, so that one has a little pink. I just want to swatch them out so I can kind of see the choices I have. There's a gold. This one's a little bit more of a silver. I mean, it just moves. It's beautiful. Don't want that one, I don't think, in this painting. Let's see, maybe, I think I already did that one. Yeah, I already did that one. That's like a really pretty peachy color. So those will be some of the colors I use. All right, so let's get started. I drew my pumpkin, but I'm going to go over it with my Micron pen. I can't find my Ohuhu marker, or my Ohuhu pen. I travel a lot with all of my supplies, so I tend to get a little bit scattered around. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Micron pen. I like this one though. It doesn't fade. It's waterproof. So I always start with my middle piece of my pumpkin. It just kind of helps. And then I start branching out. And I like big, chubby, kind of full. It just looks so healthy, right? There we go. So you're kind of drawing a circle. And if I have time to do the kit for this, I will put this in there. So we've got our funky. This is always my favorite part. And let's do some fun swirlies in there. There we go. And then, of course, you've got the back of the pumpkin there sticking up. So a nice fat pumpkin. I love that. Okay. I do have some leaves here that I added in. I might as well go ahead because I kind of wanted to get somewhat of an idea of where I might place them. But I paint so spontaneously, I kind of never know. So I don't always draw in all my leaves. And then I thought some fun little berry type things over here would be fun. Let me make sure. Yeah. There we go. I always like finding fun little add-ins. There we go. Okay. We'll do some more leaves maybe. Let's see what happens here. Okay. So I'm going to be working a lot of wet and wet. And the other thing is too, let me grab something. I want to pay attention here to where my light source is coming from. So my light source is kind of coming from, I'm going to make it over in this direction. And I've been really trying to be more conscious of that lately so that I I think, you know, it can really make a difference. So if my light source is coming kind of from over here, I'm going to have some whiter spots here. And I'm even going to leave some white space that I don't even paint. And then over here might be a little bit more shadowed. Okay, and you can get really, I remember taking this in college, and you can get really detailed with this. You have, you know, all these different types of shadows that reflect, but I'm going to keep it a little bit simpler. Now I know down in here, because my light source will be coming this way, so down in here is going to be my darkest areas. So just something to keep in mind. They call that 1-point perspective. So if your light is coming from here, I'm going to keep some white highlights here. And then down in here is going to be where my shadow comes out. Okay, just a little bit there on using white spaces and some things like that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to wet my pumpkin here, just damp. And I'm using, this is the big old bad boy I made in my set. It's a 16 round. And I'm just taking clear water and going to wet my paper. If I hold this up, you're going to see it's just glistening. It's shiny. I don't have puddles. And remember, I want to save a little white space right there. So if you can see that, it's just shiny. Now I want to work pretty quickly. So let's go into our cad orange, which I already have a little of here. About 50 water, 50 pigment. And I'm going to start laying in some of that. Now, keeping in mind, I want that white space here. So save those whites on your paper. And then down in here, it's going to end up being darker, but we're starting with our lighter values. There we go. So just a damp brush, nothing too heavily loaded. And then I want to go into maybe, I don't think I put this color on there, a cad yellow or a little golden ochre, and I'm going to brush that while this is wet and let it really blend like that. Isn't that so pretty? Oh, I love the colors of fall. And then down in here, I think is where I'm going to go into some of those browns. So I kind of said a Van Dyke brown, a little bit of burnt sienna, and I will start adding that in. And I'm working kind of quickly while this is still wet. And I want it to really blend that wet and wet. Now we can come back and go over it, but look at all the beautiful colors. Isn't that just beautiful? I'm gonna tap in maybe here, especially along this crease line, which might look a little darker, and then along the bottom of my pumpkin. So pretty. Love the colors blending together. Okay, I'm going to leave that one alone. And then I am going to go on to the next panel here. And I could use that bigger brush if I wanted, but I'll just go ahead and use this brush. And again, I'm putting just enough water so it's damp. It's not, I haven't got any puddles here, and I'm not going right up to that edge. So I'm going to have a white space right here because my light source is coming this way. So just, again, something to keep in mind. pulling that up. Now I'm getting close to that area I want to save my whites. And then maybe up here, I even want to add in a little bit of yellow, but look at that. It really gives you that feeling of light coming in there. Then right in here, just adding in some yellow ochre. Pumpkins have so many colors. Last year, we even had brown pumpkins. I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. I'm just picked up a tiny bit of brown to go along this little crease and kind of shadow a little bit, just a tiny bit. And then I'm gonna let that go. So I think that's enough there, but look at how dramatic those white spaces are. Aren't those pretty? Let's go ahead and we'll go into this one. Now you could use, again, like I said, you know, you could use a bigger brush. But no puddles, because that's harder to work with. Now, when you're working with shadows too, you always have reflective shadow, which is really interesting. And here, now, I'm kind of going to start losing about halfway through my pumpkin. I'm going to start losing some of this light. So over here, I won't put as much. Oop. So maybe a little brightness on the top. And then pulling it down. But look at how beautiful the paint spreads when we work just damp in damp. It's so much easier to kind of control, as well as you can always go darker. Remember that. You can always go darker. Going lighter is hard unless you're lifting with a tissue or a dry brush. And then along this edge, I'm going to add in some of that brown to make it really look like this pumpkin is nice and fat. I like my pumpkins fat. So I'm going into more of that brown. And still working damp in damp. Look at all the beautiful colors. I'm just picking up some of that brown. And actually, to make shadows, okay, see what happened here? I got a back run because I touched into this with wetter paint than what was there. So I'm just going to not freak out. I'm just going to kind of, with a very damp brush, go over that. Like that. Now it still might make a little bit of that mark, but we're going to put some more glazing layers on here, so I'm not going to fret too much about that. Maybe a little bit more of that orange down here. Just touching in. There we go. A little bit of that yellow ochre. Damp. Remember, I'm constantly, you can tap, tap, tap to get some of that off. And adding some of that in. This is what I love about pumpkins, all the beautiful colors in pumpkins, especially the browns and the greens. And I've got a little bit of funky blooming here, but I don't care. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to freak out. Okay, let's go to this piece here. Now, assuming my light's coming from here, this is going to be light. So let's go in and just lay again that paper down, water down, and I'm going to avoid that one area. Pick up some of my cad orange, and then right here, there we go. And we've got that light source. Now I'll go in here with some of that cad yellow and put some of that in there, and maybe a tiny bit of brown right here. Now remember, watercolors always dry lighter, so might just add in a tiny bit of brown right there where it's going into that stem. And I'll do that on these two. Okay, so we've got one more here. Let's go ahead and go in there. Now I'm gonna this time try and be a little bit more careful so I don't tap into that, because if I do right now with water, I'm gonna get that bloom again, which we don't freak out. You know, if watercolors isn't fun, why do it, is how I look at it. And I remember one time Bob Ross saying, our pencils have the art in them. Something like this. All we need to do is shake them out. I don't know why that stuck with me as a kid. I thought that is so cool. Like, our brushes know. Of course, knowing how to hold them and how much water is, of course, helpful, but I truly believe, and I hear it all the time, you guys, that when you relax, your paintings are so much better. And you tell me, oh my gosh, when I'm not freaking out and worried about, is it perfect, I paint so much better. So there you go. And then, oh, see what I've done. This is why I really don't like using pencil. I don't know if you can see, but I've been rubbing my hand back and forth on here, and now I've got a lot of little marks. So let me see if I can clean that up. Let's see here. I do have these handy little, these are the pearl wing, the white, they're called, let's see, yeah, Blackwing. I just got some more. I had ran out, and my hubby happened to notice, and he ordered them for me. I thought that was very thoughtful. And I know a lot of you are writing me and telling me your husbands are loving the work you're doing, and I think that's so great. That makes me so happy. Because when we enjoy painting and we're not all stressed out and we feel like we have support, it makes us just want to go paint. I'm going to use this one. Pardon the camera shake there, folks. Oh my goodness. So sorry. Okay. This one works just a little bit better. I'm trying to save a little bit of my Blackwing so I don't use it all. Okay, there you go. But note to self, when you pencil, just make sure you're not dragging your hand across it. And this is just an old, it's made by Liquitex. I don't even know if they do these anymore. That is so frayed and funky that I just use it to get rid of some of my eraser shaving little pieces. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go into the back here, and let's just put some color back in there. And now I just went in here wet on dry. So notice that my exactly where I put my paint, it stops. It doesn't go any further. Now I'm just using a damp brush to kind of spread it out. Okay, so damp and damp or wet on wet is going to be a lot more, it's going to have a lot more washiness and blooms and all those kind of fun things. All right, so we've got our pumpkin here. Let's go in for our second wash. And I think what I will do is let's go in wet on wet like we did here. And I'm just going to start going in and using the side of my brush, rinsing some of that off. And going up along that line, that edge, and softening it. There we go. Okay, so see how that really created this nice feeling of the pumpkin turning. And then I'll keep going into this with more layers and darker values. And adding in. So let me grab a tiny bit of brown for the bottom there. And now this is wet and wet, by the way. So I went in first with wet on dry. Now I'm going in with some wet on wet. There we go. Maybe a little bit of brown along this edge. There we go. Okay, let's leave that alone and go into maybe this one here. So I'm going to pick up some of my orange, some of my yellow, or you could use the, you could also use that cad yellow, either way. And I'm going to go in and do the same thing here. And then I'll go in and just wash and rinse my brush, tap it off on my paper, and soften that edge. There we go. Ah, look at the colors. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Let's go to this one, but I'm again going to make sure that I'm not getting too close to what is already wet. And I think I might go in and just tap in a little at the bottom there, just with some dark brown. Look how much depth that creates. It really gives you this feeling that the pumpkin is getting that shadow. Okay. So let's go into this one now. And we're going to go in wet on dry because I'm just doing some glazing. And whenever I glaze, I don't mess too much with the paint because you can pick up the layers underneath. And sometimes if you're using different colors, you could end up mixing because mixing a different color than you wanted because you're picking up the paint underneath and reactivating it, and then you create another color. There we go. Just going to soften that edge. And I might tap in a little bit there too, with maybe some of that brown and a little bit of orange in it. So that kind of turns in, because it's got yellow, into that sienna type color. And then just tapping in wet on wet and letting the watercolors do their thing. Washing my brush, I'm going to switch back to my 8 and maybe just pull some of those lines down. Ah, isn't that gorgeous? Let's add a little yellow ochre. I feel like I just want a dash of yellow, but not too bright. Ooh, I love that. I think I want some of that here too, but that might be wet, so let's wait on that one. We could add it here because that's dry. Ooh, look at that. Love that. I'm just softening those edges a little. So pretty. Love, 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 love. Okay, let's go to this last little piece here. Not last, we still have one over there. Oh, I didn't mean to wet it, but that's okay. I'm going to pick up some of that yellow ochre. There we go. This is wet on dry, making sure not to touch the one behind it. Now see how that looks a little wonky because it's so bright and the light is coming from this way. So I want to darken that up a bit. So I might even add in some of that brown because this is the back of the pumpkin. So I want the back of my pumpkin to be a little bit darker. Let's go in with some brown at the bottom. There we go. Look at, doesn't that give you that beautiful depth and roundness? Now, let's pick up some more of that orange. I really want this back piece to be a darker value. I just rinsed my brush, by the way. I love that sienna with the orange mixed in it. I think that's really, really pretty. And then some darker values of the orange. There we go. Okay. Let's do maybe this front piece right here, and that's still wet, so I don't want to go into that. I'm going to mix some of that yellow ochre. We could even do the cad yellow. Get some cad yellow here. A little bit of orange. And go in here. Wet on dry. And maybe just a little up here. There we go. And then I don't like hard lines, so I'm going to go in and just soften that edge. There we go. Tiny bit of brown down near the bottom. Maybe some of that yellow ochre in there. Tapping my brush off. Just at the bottom. Rinse my brush and just blend that out a bit. Okay, look at all the beautiful colors in here. Doesn't it really give you that feeling of depth and roundness? Now let's go for our stem here. And I think the stem, I'll use more of those siennas we were playing with. So let's put a wash on the stem. And I'm going to add some green in here too. Now you can leave some white space if you want. Let's grab some of our olive green. I think that's actually sap green I've got in there. Let me put a little olive green in there. And I'm just going to touch in, especially on that side, because that's going to be the shadowed side. under here. Oh, so pretty. Oop. And then the end of the little core there might have a little bit more yellow ochre in it, which you can also tap in here. Just having fun, you guys. See what you like. See what colors kind of are drawing you in. I look at things a lot of times like not necessarily the painting as a whole, but where do I feel I could add a little bit more color? Oh, look how pretty. So I dabbed in the dark near the base of the core. And it really gives this feeling of depth going down into there, doesn't it? The darker we make that, it just pulls your eye right down in there. Ah, love that. Okay, let's go on to some of our leaves here. Now, I dirtied that all up again. Let's just roll over that. Because I have probably oil, just natural oils on my hand. Okay, let's go into some fun leaves. But you know what, I think I'll do these over here first. So let me do these little fun gold pom-poms. They could even be red berries, but I think I'm gonna go for the gold. So I've got a yellow ochre here. And I'm just really dabbing in. Not getting too picky, like that. And then let's go in with some brown, maybe even a tiny bit of green, and tap in. Ooh, I love that. There we go. Isn't that fun? And then some little leaves down here. We'll go into our green. And this is going to be resting my palm here. I'm just going to point, press, lift up. Point, press, lift up. Picking up some more of that olivey green. Point, press, lift up. Maybe go back over it and clean it up just with light pressure. Point, press, point, press. And then I'm going to go in while those are wet with the brown. And I want it to bleed into those leaves a little bit. Ooh, yeah, like that. Now let's, isn't that so pretty? I'll lift it up in a minute so you can see. Point, press, widening out that belly of my brush. Point, press, and lift up. Point, press. And now tapping in with that brown, just a tiny bit. Tap, tap, tap to get any excess water off. So pretty. Now I might even add a little gold, your yellow ochre. Be careful, that yellow ochre can be a little powerful. Tap off your brush, but maybe just add in a tiny bit here and there. And it kind of fits in there with your pumpkin. Okay. There we go. We could even do a tiny bit of darker gold in there. Maybe a little bit of an orangey or brown, that sienna color. Just for some interest. There we go. And now let's do our leaves over here. So those ones, let's go with that green again. Point, press, point, press. So when I'm pressing, it's opening up the belly of my brush. so I get a wider brush stroke. So point, I apply pressure, my belly of my brush is getting wider, and now I lift up less pressure. Point, press, point, press. And notice I used a little different values, so these are a little bit darker than my other side. Point, press. And then I'm going to go in with that brown and kind of tap in for my branch here. So pretty how that blends. Here's some yellow, yellow ochre. Just tapping in to get some fun colors. Love that. And then I might just do these in a gold color to kind of go with these little pom-poms over here. So let's get a goldish green here. So I've got that olive green in there right now. Tap off my brush. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of that yellow ochre. And then let's do these little point, press, point, press, point, press, and then lift up. Point, press, lift up. And I'm just doing that for all of these. Point, press. Point, press. And now I'll go in there with that brown for the stem. Oh, I just love when the brown mixes with the green. I think that's so pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? I hope you can see that. And then picking up some of that yellow ochre. Tap your brush if you want, if you feel like you might have too much. Such a beautiful blend of that brown. Rinsing my brush, and I'm just going to soften that line a little bit. Just going right along the edges with a damp brush, because I don't like any hard lines. So look how pretty that is. Now we could have even done some big old fall leaves, which I'll be doing later. Okay, so I feel like we're good there. Let's go in with, I just want to add in a tiny bit of the Lisilinkas. I hope I'm saying her name right. Okay, let's go back to figure out what color I want. I think I want to go with the more gold, because the other ones have just a tiny bit of pink in them, which I don't really want. So I'm going to go with the gold. They're so beautiful and creamy, you guys. I'm probably never going to use them because I don't want to use them up. Okay, and I'm going to put that gold right at the top here. So using this big old brush, I'm light pressure. Make sure I don't put my hand in that. Point, press. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. I'm almost bummed I like this metallic so much because they're expensive. And I don't know if I'd ever buy them again. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful that is. Wow. I love anything sparkly, but wow. These are just like lava. It's beautiful. And I don't want to put too much because when I use metallics, I like to kind of give a hint. Like I really like it there. Might dab it on in the back here. because that's what's catching the light. Maybe a tiny bit there. Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I love my MABs, but this is a little bit creamier, flowier. I'm debating, I might just add a tiny bit right here. Just a hint of sparkle. But most of it I wanted in there. And then I think the other thing I'll do is go in with that brown, and I want to really give the feeling of that pumpkin kind of going inside that little crevice there. So I'm gonna grab back to my small brush and go right alongside that with just a damp brush. There we go. So it gives this feeling that it's curling under and around. And this is still a little wet, so I might wait. I love putting that color in. And then I'll go alongside this one more time with just a damp brush, just to blend that in. But look at how interesting this pumpkin is when you play with layers. Maybe we could put a little of this on some of these pretty leaves here. So point. Ooh, yeah, look how pretty that is. Just the tips of them. So pretty. I love when I can add sparkles or something in, so it's just kind of makes people take a second look. Now, because these leaves are in the back, so keeping in mind our light source is coming from here, I do want to darken these sides a little bit. I was waiting for that to dry, but I'm going to put a darker value on these leaves because darker values are going to kind of, number one, look like they're in a shadow, but they're also going to be more interesting. So let's go in with our darker olive green, put some in my palette, tap, 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 and let's give these, oh yeah, that's exactly. So it looks like they're in the shadows here. Love that. Now I can still go in with the, oh, almost lost my brush there. Point, press. Yeah, I like that. Maybe on the other side with a little bit of gold or brownish. Ooh, isn't that fun? And then these, I might add just a touch more of the golden ochre. There we go. I think that's good. I might touch into the base of those again, just like I did before. There we go. Oh, I really love this, you guys. Now, something fun you could use if you have a rigger. I don't have a rigger in my set, but I could use the point of my brush and just add in some of those fun little curly cues. Or we could do, how about if we do a little branch in the background? Let's grab our Van Dyke Brown. And now normally I hold my brush up near the crimping because it gives me some more control, but I want to do a little branch sticking out. So I'm going to hold way back farther so I can let my brush move around, and very light pressure. And let's just, so very light pressure. Look how fun. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, this I did not plan on. Kind of typical. I tend to do this. I just felt like I wanted something more over there. Maybe a little branch coming out here. I love putting in little things that maybe catch your eye. So we could even do one here. I'm using such light pressure just to get the tip of my brush. Look how fun that was. Now let's maybe do lighter value. So I'm going to go into my green paint, but I'm going to make it like more like a 80% water, 20% pigment. And now tap, tap, tap. And let's create some lighter value leaves here. Let me make sure I have a lighter, so that is a lighter value. And add in some little leaves poking out here and there. Just to kind of make it look fuller. Yeah, I like that. Maybe just a few more tucked in there. And then we can add in some of that yellow ochre to those if you want. I think we're about done. I might darken this side up a bit. I want to make sure that's dry. It's not drying as quick as normal because it's cold here. So let me just give it a quick shot of my dryer. I just feel like I want to darken this side a bit. Isn't that shiny metallic gorgeous? I might put a little up here too. Let's see, make sure that's dry. I think that's pretty dry. Oops. Okay, put that back. And let's go in and grab some cad orange. There we go. And I'm gonna go in and just add a little bit more in here. Just, I felt like I wanted a little darker value. And then maybe go in with that yellow ochre. Like that. And then I'm rinsing my brush so it's just damp. Make sure that's dry. And I'm just going in again where that crease is. Maybe with a little bit of brown down there, but I want to tap off my brush. Very light pressure. There we go. Now a damp brush, I rinsed and soften up some of those lines. So I feel like that really pulled it much more into the back of the pumpkin. Looks a little bit darker now, like it's in that shadow. And we can even do a little bit more on there. Pick up some of that orange. I mean, you could really just keep doing layers and layers. Softening that edge. Oh, so, so pretty. Is watercolors just the funnest thing ever, you guys? And it really is about having fun because, you know, like I said, if I'm not having fun, I'm like, why am I even doing this? There we go. And then I'll soften up those edges. Just with a damp brush. There. So pretty, you guys. What do you think? The last thing we could do is put some of those little squigglies. I don't want to get too busy, but those are always kind of fun. Oh yeah, I like that. I'm glad I did that. Sometimes I have to really stop and walk away, tap, 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 because I don't want to get too busy. Now I'm just tapping in while that's wet. And let's do another one here. Yeah, that's fun. Maybe one over here. And with a little bit darker, just tap in where it's still kind of wet. And that just really creates some interest. Oh, look how fun, you guys. Do we dare bring one down onto the pumpkin? Let's do it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so fun. I just want to keep going, but I know I need to stop. So there's your pumpkin. And, you know, make this yours. Like, use the metallics if you want. These are awfully beautiful. They really are. I'm going to be treasuring these and using them very sparingly, but they are absolutely beautiful, beautiful. Even the packaging, which, you know, I love. This is that meat and paper. Love it. I would frame this. And my brushes, if you haven't signed up for them, they are coming out in a couple weeks. I also have a great online course. You can sign up right here. And there's 17 lessons, I think actually 19. There's 7 modules, but I just really made it all bite-sized fun pieces that's really doable and easy. You get to, I cover a little bit of composition, values and washes, perspectives in flowers. It's packed with all kinds of fun stuff for the beginner. So thank you so much to all of you. You are so inspiring to me. You always have the best ideas and constantly keeping my mind going. So I hope you give this a try. I will do a Etsy tutorial kit. I'll work on that today is Labor Day, and I will work on that for you. They're only $2.50 and you get all the fun stuff. And most of all, just happy painting, relax, sit down, play, use the colors you want. If you want a pink pumpkin, do a pink pumpkin. And I will see you all soon. Thanks so much, everybody.